Sarah stepped into the bustling neonatal intensive care unit, her heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and nervousness. It was her first day on the job, and she knew that this was where her dedication and training would be put to the ultimate test. The beeping of monitors, soft cries of babies, and the hurried footsteps of her colleagues filled the air, creating a symphony of urgency and hope. As she moved through the unit, her eyes were drawn to a tiny incubator in the corner. Inside, nestled among tubes and wires, was Lucas. He was impossibly small, skin translucent and fragile, his breath shallow and labored. The sight of him took Sarah's breath away. She felt a pang of fear, but also an overwhelming surge of protectiveness. Lucas was born prematurely, and his chances of survival were heartbreakingly slim. Sarah approached the incubator, her hands trembling slightly. She gently placed her hand on the glass, her eyes meeting Lucas's tiny form. In that moment, she made a silent promise to herself and to him. She would do everything in her power to give him a fighting chance. She would be his advocate, his guardian, and his source of unwavering love. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. Sarah spent countless hours by Lucas's side, monitoring his vital signs, adjusting his ventilator, and administering medication. Every beep of the monitor was a reminder of his fragility, and every slight improvement brought a glimmer of hope. She celebrated each tiny victory, a slight increase in weight, a more stable heartbeat, with tears in her eyes and a heart full of gratitude. But the journey was far from easy. Lucas's condition was precarious, and he faced numerous setbacks. There were nights when Sarah stayed long after her shift ended, unable to leave his side. She whispered words of encouragement to him, her voice soft and soothing, as if her very presence could infuse him with the strength he needed. Keep fighting. Sarah's colleagues began to notice her dedication. They saw how she poured her heart into Lucas's care, and they admired her tenacity. Yet they also worried for her. The emotional toll was immense, and they knew that investing so deeply in one patient could be both a blessing and a curse. But Sarah couldn't help it. She was bound to Lucas in a way that transcended her professional duty. One evening, as Sarah sat by Lucas's incubator, she was overcome with a profound sense of connection. She reached in and gently held his tiny hand, feeling the faintest squeeze in return. Tears welled up in her eyes, spilling down her cheeks. It was as if Lucas was telling her that he felt her love, that he was fighting because he knew he wasn't alone. In those quiet moments, surrounded by the soft hum of machines and the rhythmic rise and fall of Lucas's chest, Sarah realized that she had found her calling. She wasn't just a nurse. She was a lifeline, beacon of hope in the darkest of times. And Lucas, with his fragile existence, was teaching her the true meaning of resilience and love. As the weeks turned into months, Sarah's bond with Lucas grew stronger. She faced each day with renewed determination, drawing strength from their shared journey. Fragility of his beginning only made each step forward more precious, each milestone a testament to their unwavering fight. Sarah knew that the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but she also knew that she would never give up on Lucas. Their connection was more than just nurse and patient. It was a testament to the power of love, dedication, and the unbreakable bond that forms when two souls meet in the fight for life. And so, with a heart full of hope and a spirit fortified by love, Sarah continued her journey with Lucas, one fragile step at a time. The days in the NICU were a relentless dance of hope and despair. Sarah's every waking moment revolved around Lucas. She watched him intently, learning the rhythms of his breathing, the subtle changes in his skin color, and the tiny shifts in his demeanor. Each day presented a new battle, a new challenge to overcome. There were moments when Lucas seemed to be making progress. His weight would inch upward, breathing would stabilize, and his tiny eyes would open, locking onto Sarah's with a look that seemed to hold a universe of trust. In those precious moments, Sarah felt a surge of joy and relief. She celebrated these small victories quietly, tender smile on her lips, a silent prayer of gratitude in her heart. But the NICU was an unforgiving place. For every step forward, there seemed to be two steps back. Lucas's fragile body was constantly under siege. He would develop an infection, sending his vital signs into chaos, or his lungs would struggle, making every breath a laborious effort. Each crisis felt like a dagger to Sarah's heart. She would rush to his side, her hands steady but her heart in turmoil, doing everything in her power to stabilize him. One particularly harrowing night, Lucas's condition took a sharp decline. His oxygen levels plummeted, and his tiny body was racked with distress. The team of doctors and nurses sprang into action, a whirlwind of activity and urgency. Sarah's heart pounded as she worked alongside them, her mind racing with fear and determination. The room was filled with the cacophony of alarms, the voices of medical staff, and the steady, urgent commands of the lead doctor. Sarah's eyes never left Lucas. She whispered to him, her voice barely audible amidst the chaos. "Hold on, Lucas. I'm right here. You're not alone. You can do this." She willed him to fight, cling to life with every ounce of his strength. Hours felt like days, but finally, Lucas stabilized. Crisis passed, but it left Sarah emotionally drained, profound fatigue settling in her bones. She stayed by his side, her eyes wet with tears, her hand gently resting on his incubator. Fear of losing him had carved a deep scar in her heart, but the relief of his recovery was a balm she clung to. Through it all, Sarah's bond with Lucas deepened. She saw in him a fierce will to survive, a resilience that inspired her to push beyond her own limits. She found herself sharing parts of her own life with him, talking to him about her dreams, her fears, and the moments of doubt she faced. It was as if Lucas, in his silent struggle, was teaching her about the strength of the human spirit. F21, Sarah's colleagues admired her dedication. They also worried. They saw the toll it was taking on her, the exhaustion that clouded her eyes, the weight of responsibility she carried. Yet they couldn't deny the miraculous progress Lucas was making under her care. He was gaining weight steadily, his breathing was becoming more regular, and the infections were less frequent. One day, Sarah noticed something extraordinary. As she was adjusting Lucas's tubes, she felt a tiny hand wrap around her finger. Lucas, with his fragile strength, was holding on to her, his grip a testament to the connection they shared. Sarah's heart swelled with emotion. It was a moment of pure, unspoken communication, a silent promise that they were in this together. As Lucas continued to grow stronger, Sarah prepared his parents for the day they would take him home. She spent hours teaching them how to care for their precious son, sharing every detail she had learned. The day of Lucas's discharge was approaching, and while it filled Sarah with a sense of accomplishment, it also brought a bittersweet ache. Sarah knew that her time with Lucas in the NICU was drawing to a close. She took solace in the knowledge that she had given him the best start she could. Each small victory, each struggle they had faced together was etched in her heart. And as she watched him grow stronger, she knew that their bond had become a source of hope and inspiration that would endure long after they parted ways. With each passing day, Sarah found herself more deeply intertwined with Lucas's journey. She'd become not just a nurse, but a guardian of his fragile life, a witness to his indomitable spirit. And in the quiet moments, when the beeping of monitors faded into the background, she held on to the hope that Lucas would continue to thrive, carrying with him the love and strength they had shared. Through it all, Sarah's bond with Lucas deepened. She saw in him a fierce will to survive, a resilience that inspired her to push beyond her own limits. She found herself sharing parts of her own life with him, talking to him about her dreams, her fears, and the moments of doubt she faced. It was as if Lucas, in his silent struggle, was teaching her about the strength of the human spirit. F21, Sarah's colleagues admired her dedication. They also worried. They saw the toll it was taking on her, the exhaustion that clouded her eyes, the weight of responsibility she carried. Yet they couldn't deny the miraculous progress Lucas was making under her care. He was gaining weight steadily, his breathing was becoming more regular, and the infections were less frequent. One day, Sarah noticed something extraordinary. As she was adjusting Lucas's tubes, she felt a tiny hand wrap around her finger. Lucas, with his fragile strength, was holding on to her, his grip a testament to the connection they shared. Sarah's heart swelled with emotion. It was a moment of pure, unspoken communication, a silent promise that they were in this together. As Lucas continued to grow stronger, Sarah prepared his parents for the day they would take him home. She spent hours teaching them how to care for their precious son, sharing every detail she had learned. The day of Lucas's discharge was approaching, and while it filled Sarah with a sense of accomplishment, it also brought a bittersweet ache. Sarah knew that her time with Lucas in the NICU was drawing to a close. She took solace in the knowledge that she had given him the best start she could. Each small victory, each struggle they had faced together was etched in her heart. And as she watched him grow stronger, she knew that their bond had become a source of hope and inspiration that would endure long after they parted ways. With each passing day, Sarah found herself more deeply intertwined with Lucas's journey. She'd become not just a nurse, but a guardian of his fragile life, a witness to his indomitable spirit. And in the quiet moments, when the beeping of monitors faded into the background, she held on to the hope that Lucas would continue to thrive, carrying with him the love and strength they had shared. The NICU had become a second home for Sarah, each corner and sound etched into her memory. Lucas's progress had been a beacon of light in the often dark world of neonatal care, and she clung to each positive step like a lifeline. But as is often the case in life's most delicate battles, a storm was brewing on the horizon. One quiet afternoon, as Sarah was finishing her shift, an alarm went off near Lucas's incubator. Her heart leapt in her throat as she rushed to his side. Lucas's oxygen levels were dropping dangerously low, and his tiny body was pale and trembling. Familiar panic surged through her veins as the medical team gathered, their faces tense with concentration. "Lucas, stay with me," Sarah whispered, her voice shaking as she gently touched his hand. Her presence had always seemed to calm him, but now his response was weak, script barely there. The doctors worked tirelessly, administering medications, adjusting his ventilator, and doing everything possible to stabilize him. Sarah felt helpless, her usually steady hands now trembling as she tried to assist. She could feel the fear clawing at her inside, the dread of losing the little boy who had become a part of her heart. After hours of intense intervention, Lucas's condition stabilized slightly, but he remained critically ill. The infection that had taken hold was severe, and the doctors were concerned about the potential damage to his already fragile system. Sarah's heart ached as she watched Lucas struggle, each labored breath a painful reminder of the fragility of life. That night, Sarah couldn't bring herself to leave the hospital. She sat by Lucas's side, her eyes never leaving his face. Exhaustion tugged at her, but she couldn't rest. Her thoughts were a whirlwind of fear and helplessness. How could this be happening after everything they had overcome? She had invested so much love and care, and now it felt like it was all slipping away. In the dim light of the NICU, Sarah prayed silently, her hands clasped tightly together. She prayed for Lucas's strength, for the doctor's wisdom, and for a miracle that would pull him through. Tears streamed down her face as she leaned over his incubator, whispering to him, "You have to fight, Lucas. We're stronger than this. We've come so far. Please don't give up." The next few days were a blur of medical procedures and anxious waiting. Sarah felt the weight of each passing hour like a heavy stone in her chest. Colleagues offered support, but nothing could ease the ache she felt. She barely ate, barely slept. Her world narrowed down to Lucas's survival. The emotional toll was immense. Sarah's mind raced with worst-case scenarios, and her heart shattered with every setback. She found herself questioning her own strength, wondering if she had done enough, if she could have prevented this. The doubts gnawed at her, a relentless torment. One evening, as Sarah sat by Lucas's side, his parents arrived. Their faces were drawn with worry, their eyes red from crying. Sarah's heart broke for them. They were struggling too, grappling with the fear of losing their son. She took a deep breath and mustered a reassuring smile, explaining Lucas's condition and the steps being taken to help him. But behind her calm exterior, Sarah was drowning in sorrow. She had grown so close to Lucas, invested so much of herself in his care, that the thought of losing him was unbearable. She felt a profound connection to him, a bond that had become a source of strength and hope in her own life. The prospect of that bond being severed was more than she could bear. Despite the overwhelming fear and sadness, Sarah refused to give up. She poured every ounce of her energy into caring for Lucas, monitoring his progress, and advocating for the best possible treatment. Her dedication was unwavering, even as her own heart broke under the weight of the situation. One night, as she sat alone with Lucas, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. His vital signs showed a slight improvement, glimmer of stability. It wasn't much, but it was enough to reignite her determination. She took his tiny hand in hers and whispered, "We're not done fighting, Lucas. You and me, we're going to get through this. I believe in you." In that moment, amidst the beeping monitors and the sterile hospital lights, Sarah found a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead was still uncertain, fraught with challenges and heartache, but she knew she couldn't give up. Lucas needed her, and she needed him. Their bond, forged in the crucible of the NICU, was a testament to resilience and love. As the days continued, Sarah faced each challenge with a fierce determination. She celebrated every small victory, no matter how fleeting, and held on to hope with all her might. Lucas's journey was far from over, but she was prepared to walk every step of it with him, no matter where it led. In the end, it was the strength of their connection, unbreakable bond between nurse and patient, that gave Sarah the courage to keep going. She knew that, no matter what happened, she had given Lucas everything she had. And in that, there was a profound sense of peace, quiet strength that carried her through the darkest of time. Lucas's condition remained fragile, but the slight improvements gave Sarah a sliver of hope to hold on to. The days blurred together as she poured all her energy into his care, her heart aching with a mixture of fear and determination. Every moment was a battle, but she refused to let despair take hold. One morning, as Sarah prepared to start her shift, she noticed something different about Lucas. His breathing, though still labored, seemed a bit stronger. His color was improving, and his tiny hand gripped her finger with a hint of renewed strength. Sarah's heart swelled with cautious optimism. The doctors confirmed her observations. Lucas was showing signs of recovery, however slight. The infection that had nearly taken him was beginning to retreat, and his vitals were stabilizing. It was a fragile victory, but it felt monumental. Sarah allowed herself a small smile, the first genuine one in days. As the weeks passed, Lucas's condition continued to improve. Each day brought new challenges, but also new triumphs. He began to gain weight steadily, his body responding to the treatments and the love that surrounded him. Sarah celebrated each milestone with a mixture of joy and relief, her bond with Lucas growing stronger with every passing day. One afternoon, as Sarah sat by Lucas's side, his parents arrived with a look of hope in their eyes. They had been through a roller coaster of emotions, their hearts heavy with worry and fear. Sarah greeted them with a warm smile, her own eyes reflecting the cautious optimism she felt. "Lucas is getting stronger," she said softly, her voice filled with emotion. "He's a fighter, and he's making incredible progress." Lucas's mother reached out and took Sarah's hand, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, Sarah. We don't know what we would have done without you. You've given us hope when we had none." Sarah squeezed her hand gently, her own eyes brimming with tears. "Lucas is the true fighter. I'm just here to help him along the way." The bond between Sarah and Lucas's parents deepened. They trusted her implicitly, knowing that she was doing everything in her power to care for their son. Sarah's dedication was unwavering, her love for Lucas a constant source of strength for all of them. But the journey was far from over. One night, as Sarah sat by Lucas's incubator, she felt a sudden wave of exhaustion. She leaned back in her chair, closing her eyes for a moment. Her mind was filled with thoughts of Lucas, of the struggles they had faced together, and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. In the quiet of the NICU, surrounded by the soft hum of machines, Sarah found herself drifting into a fitful sleep. Her dreams were filled with images of Lucas, of his tiny hand gripping hers, of his eyes looking up at her with a trust that melted her heart. Suddenly, she was jolted awake by the sound of an alarm. Her heart raced as she jumped to her feet, her eyes darting to Lucas's incubator. His oxygen levels were dropping again, his tiny body struggling to breathe. The fear that had been a constant companion surged to the forefront, and Sarah felt a wave of panic. The medical team rushed in, their movements swift and precise. Sarah's hands shook as she adjusted Lucas's ventilator, her mind racing with fear and determination. "Come on, Lucas," whispered, her voice trembling. "You've come so far. Don't give up now." Hours passed, each one feeling like an eternity. Finally, Lucas stabilized, his vitals slowly returning to normal. Sarah let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. body trembling with relief. She sank into her chair, tears streaming down her face. The roller coaster of emotions was overwhelming. Sarah felt a deep sense of gratitude for Lucas's resilience, but also a profound exhaustion. She had given everything she had, poured her heart and soul into his care, and the toll was immense. As the days continued, Lucas's condition steadily improved. The infection that had threatened his life was finally under control, and he was growing stronger with each passing day. Sarah watched in awe as he gained weight, tiny body filling out, his breathing becoming more regular. The bond between them was unbreakable. Sarah knew that their journey was far from over, but she also knew that they had overcome incredible odds together. Lucas had shown her the true meaning of strength and resilience, and in turn, she had given him the love and care he needed to survive. One evening, as Sarah sat by Lucas's side, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. She took his tiny hand in hers, feeling the warmth of his skin, the gentle squeeze of his fingers. "We've come a long way, Lucas," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "And I'll be here with you every step of the way." In the quiet of the NICU, surrounded by the soft beeping of monitors and the rhythmic hum of machines, Sarah found a sense of hope. The road ahead was still uncertain. She knew that together they could face whatever challenges came their way. As Lucas continued to grow stronger, Sarah's heart swelled with pride and love. Their journey was a testament to the power of hope, resilience, and the unbreakable bond that forms when two souls meet in the fight for life. Sarah's days were now filled with cautious optimism as Lucas continued to gain strength. His progress was a beacon of hope, a testament to their combined resilience and determination. Yet, the shadow of uncertainty still loomed, a constant reminder of the fragile line between triumph and heartbreak. One afternoon, as Sarah was documenting Lucas's progress, the head nurse, Karen, approached her with a somber expression. "Sarah, I need to talk to you," she said quietly, leading her to a private corner of the NICU. Sarah's heart sank at the seriousness in Karen's voice. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Karen hesitated before speaking. "Lucas's parents have requested a transfer to a hospital closer to their home. They believe it will be better for him and for their family." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. The thought of Lucas leaving her care, of not being there to watch over him, filled her with an overwhelming sense of loss. She had poured her heart into his recovery, and the bond they had formed was unlike anything she had ever experienced. "But he's doing so well here," Sarah protested, her voice trembling with emotion. "We have a routine, system that's working. I don't understand." Karen placed a comforting hand on Sarah's shoulder. "I know this is hard, Sarah. You've done an incredible job with Lucas, but his parents are making this decision with his best interests in mind. They want him to be closer to home." Sarah nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. She understood the parents' decision, but it didn't make the impending separation any easier. The thought of not seeing Lucas every day, of not being there to celebrate his milestones and support him through setbacks, almost unbearable. That evening, as Sarah sat by Lucas's incubator, she felt an overwhelming sense of sadness. She gently stroked his tiny hand, her heart aching with the knowledge their time together was coming to an end. "You're going to a new place, little one," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "But I know you're going to be okay. You're strong, and you have so many people who love you." The following days were a whirlwind of preparations for Lucas's transfer. Sarah worked tirelessly to ensure that his new medical team had all the information they needed. She meticulously documented every detail of his care, determined to make the transition as smooth as possible. On the day of the transfer, Sarah's emotions were a tumultuous mix of pride, sadness, and hope. She held Lucas one last time, cradling him gently in her arms. His eyes, now brighter and more alert, seemed to look into hers with a depth of understanding that took her breath away. "Be strong, Lucas," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You've come so far, and I know you're going to do amazing things. I'll always be thinking of you, always." With tears streaming down her face, Sarah handed Lucas over to his parents. They hugged her tightly, their gratitude evident in their tear-filled eyes. "Thank you, Sarah," Lucas's mother said, voice trembling. "You've given us the greatest gift. We will never forget what you've done for our son." As she watched them leave, Sarah felt a profound sense of loss. The NICU, once filled with the sound of Lucas's breaths and the rhythm of their routine, now felt strangely empty. Her heart ached with the void left by his absence. The days that followed were a struggle. Sarah threw herself into her work, caring for other babies with the same dedication and love she had given to Lucas. But the ache in her heart remained, constant reminder of the bond they had shared. Weeks passed, and one day, Sarah received a letter in the mail. She recognized the handwriting immediately and tore it open with trembling hands. Inside was a photo of Lucas, now healthier and stronger, his eyes sparkling with life. There was also a note from his parent. "Dear Sarah, Lucas is doing wonderfully in his new hospital. He's gaining weight and hitting all his milestones. We wanted to thank you again for everything you did for him. Your love and care gave him the strength to keep fighting. We will always be grateful to you. With all our love, Lucas's family." Tears filled Sarah's eyes as she read the note. The ache in her heart was still there, but it was now accompanied by a deep sense of pride and joy. She had made a difference in Lucas's life, and that knowledge filled her with a renewed sense of purpose. Sarah placed the photo and note in a special drawer, a small shrine to the bond they had shared. She knew that no matter where life took her, Lucas would always hold a special place in her heart. And so, Sarah continued her journey. Each new baby she cared for, a reminder of the incredible strength and resilience of the human spirit. She knew there would be more heartache and more challenges, but she also knew that each small victory, each life saved, was worth every moment of pain, every tear shed. Life in the NICU moved on, and so did Sarah. Yet Lucas remained a constant in her thoughts, his journey an indelible mark on her heart. She continued her work with unwavering dedication, each baby she cared for reminding her of the preciousness of life and the power of hope. Months turned into years and the seasons changed. Sarah found herself settling into a new routine, though the memories of Lucas still lingered, a bittersweet echo in her heart. She often wondered how he was doing, whether he continued to thrive, and if he remembered the bond they had shared. One crisp autumn day, as Sarah was finishing her shift, she decided to take a walk through the park to clear her mind. The golden leaves crunched under her feet, and the cool breeze carried the scent of impending winter. She took a deep breath, feeling a sense of calm wash over her. As she strolled through the park, she noticed a group of children playing by the playground. Their laughter filled the air, a symphony of innocence and joy. Sarah smiled, her heart warming at the sight. She continued to walk, her thoughts wandering back to Lucas and the love she had poured into his care. Suddenly, a small voice called out, "Mommy, look, it's her." Sarah turned towards the sound, her heart skipping a beat. There, standing with a family by the playground, was Lucas's mother. Her face lit up with recognition and joy as she saw Sarah. Holding her hand was a little boy, now 3 years old, his eyes bright and full of life. "Lucas?" Sarah whispered, her voice filled with disbelief and wonder. Lucas's mother rushed over, tears streaming down her face. "Sarah, I can't believe it. It's you. We've thought about you so often. Look at Lucas, he's doing so well." Sarah knelt down, her eyes meeting Lucas's. He smiled shyly, then reached out and hugged her. The warmth of his tiny arms around her neck brought tears to her eyes. "Hi, Lucas," she said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. "You've grown so much. You look so strong and healthy." Lucas's father joined them, his face beaming with gratitude. "Sarah, we can't thank you enough for everything you did. Lucas wouldn't be here if it weren't for your love and care."